Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're learning about one-point perspective drawing. We will be working on the elements of art, space, and the elements of art line to create a one-point perspective drawing. Check out this railroad track. See how the tracks are getting smaller? It is moving back into space, away from us, the viewers. It is traveling so far away that we can barely see where it ends. That point is called the vanishing point. Let's look at this picture of a bridge. The walkway is traveling so far away into space, away from us, that we can hardly see it. The place where the walkway meets the horizon line is called the vanishing point. The horizon line, which is always a horizontal line, is where the sky and the land or the water touch. The railways of this walkway create perspective lines. These lines create space of the walkway to make it feel wide or narrow. Sometimes lines of perspective are needed above the horizon line as well as below. In this photo, the beams of the bridge are so tall they go above the horizon line. The red lines make an X. Right where all the lines intersect is called the vanishing point. Check out this painting by Vincent van Gogh. He used a vanishing point and perspective lines to create this painting of his bedroom. Now, Van Gogh doesn't have sky or land in his picture, so the horizontal line is not as obvious. But we can discover it by looking at the angles of the other lines to see where his vanishing point is, and it leads us to the horizon line. In this picture, the horizon line is red, and the lines of perspective are blue. Everything lines up and points to that vanishing point, even though there's not an obvious horizon line. Let's look at these other beautiful photographs with one-point perspective. Do you see where the vanishing point could possibly be? I love this picture of the Taj Mahal in India. The lines along the reflecting pole meet. Kind of have to use our imagination to see where they exactly meet, but that is the vanishing point. This photo of the Brooklyn Bridge gives a great example of perspective. It makes us feel like we're standing right in the middle of the road on the bridge. Even that stripe along the middle of the road is getting smaller as it moves back in space. Cities are great places to find one-point perspective. All the angles and lines that are made when looking at buildings all meet at a vanishing point. I love this picture of downtown Annapolis. It has a vanishing point, and it's a little bit different because the vanishing point is slightly to the right rather than right in the middle of the page. But the tops and the bottoms of the buildings are all lining up to it. Check out this underwater tunnel. See how the path is getting further away in space? It's pointing to a vanishing point. Even this perspective with a wall on one side, the wall is going further back into space. Those lines are pointing to one particular dot, the vanishing point. This underwater tunnel is giving me some inspiration for some art. Maybe your one-point perspective drawing would be something like this. This artist got that inspiration. They made an underwater tunnel using perspective lines and a vanishing point. Their horizontal line is not distinctive, but just like in Vincent van Gogh's painting, it is there. Just have to use your imagination. Maybe you're in more of a traveling mood, and you want to create a long road that is going further and further over the land, like this artist did, through the mountains. That's a possibility for your one-point perspective drawing. Maybe you're into visiting the cities and traveling and driving, and you want to make a city perspective drawing. That works too. One more idea is this art gallery. This artist used one-point perspective to create a room where the ceiling and the floor meet. That's where that perspective line is. I hope that you get some inspiration for your one-point perspective drawing. Let's get started. Okay, so let's get started on our one-point perspective drawings. First, you're going to need a ruler or a straight edge. You're going to need a nice sharp pencil and an eraser. So there's a couple ways that we can get started. I'm going to tell you a couple ways. Envision what kind of scene you want to create with your one-point perspective drawing. To start, I am going to make a horizon line. Making the horizon line first is one way to get started, especially if you're making a landscape scene. So here's our horizon line, and we learned that any point on the horizon line could be the vanishing point. For the sake of keeping it simple, I'm going to put mine pretty much in the middle. Then I'm ready to start making those perspective lines. So if I were to make a road going out into the distance, I could add a line going this way. I could add a line going this way. I could add 2 lines for the stripe down the middle of the road. Okay. Then if I wanted to, I could start adding some trees on one side. Now I'm going to have to make a line to show where the edge of the trees, the top of the trees are going to match. So here's this line, and I'm pressing down pretty hard, but I want you to press down lightly just in case you need to use your eraser. So I can go through and I'm just kind of sketching out how my trees are going to look, and they're going to kind of get taller and taller because they're getting closer and closer to the viewer, which is us. Okay, then maybe over here I want to make some buildings, so I could make another line going here. Now remember, we learned that anything that is facing the viewer is going to have a vertical line or an exact horizontal line. So if I had buildings here and I want to add some windows, the windows are actually facing me. So I want those windows to be horizontal. They're not going to be diagonal. And I could add a little sidewalk. If you want to add a sidewalk here, add some vertical lines to show that the sidewalk is walking along. And of course, at the end, I would go back and erase that horizon line because the buildings are blocking it, and erase these lines because the trees are blocking it. And those are just guidelines. Maybe you want to add some cars along the way, that's fine. Okay. Another idea would be, if you are interested in making that cool aquarium, another way to start a perspective drawing is with making those X. That X, we saw it in the bridge picture where it made an X. So I'm going to go from one corner to the other, making these diagonal lines. So instead of making my horizon line and my vanishing point first, I am making my perspective lines first. Okay, where those perspective lines cross, that's going to be my vanishing point. And as I make a horizontal line where the vanishing point is, that is where the horizon line is. Okay, so now I'm ready. I'm pretending this is this cooled underwater aquarium, I can add some, maybe some wall structures here. And at this point, I'm just kind of free drawing. I'm not even using my ruler. Add that cool archway that goes over. Okay, and people are walking through, and we can get pretty creative with the animals and the shadows. And once we get painting and stuff, we can add a lot of color and shows a lot of value to make it look shadowy. Maybe you want to add some fish, and we can make it look pretty cool to see all these underwater creatures. I'm not even sure what kind of fish this is, but I'm just going with it. So, okay, you be creative. Another classic perspective point would start with a horizon line, start with a vanishing point, start with going out to the sides of the perspective. And now I'm thinking of this really beautiful dock that we saw. And what's going to happen is that the dock doesn't actually go all the way to the vanishing point. Although its lines do, it doesn't exactly go. So I can come back and erase those extra lines, and to make it look like the dock is going further away from us. And I'm gonna add these boards in here, and maybe I want to make some kind of mountains or part of an island on the horizon. Maybe another one over here to kind of add some balance to it. Okay, I could add some trees, maybe like the coast of a beautiful beach. And because the island is kind of blocking the actual line where the sky and the water meet, I can come back and I can erase it. Let me erase these a little bit better. Get that a little bit better. Okay, so then I can go back. Maybe I want to add some waves. Maybe I want to add some water lines to show that this is the water. I could create a beautiful sunset that is setting behind this island, and maybe I want to add a boat over here, or a bucket or a chair on the dock. Okay, it's up to you. I want to give you the freedom to be creative with this scene. So you've got a couple choices on ways to start. You could start by making there it is. You could start by making the horizon line, picking a vanishing point, creating those perspective lines to create a landscape, maybe of a road going out into the city or out into the wilderness. You could start by making the perspective lines first in the shape of an X. Then we've got this hallway we're walking through, and this is kind of an underwater tunnel. You could make it a regular tunnel where you're drawing cars that are walking through. And then finally, you can pick that vanishing point. You could start by making some perspective lines, but maybe it doesn't go all the way to that vanishing point. Maybe the road stops, the dock stops, whatever that may be for you, okay? Let's get started. I'm here to help you, so please ask questions if you need help, okay?